This is Mr. Barnes. Mr. Barnes is a 4th grade teacher in inner city Baltimore, and right now his classroom is in total chaos. He's got over 30 students to whom he's teaching Common Core fractions, and he's had a very tough time following along and knowing what they know and what they're studying, etc., etc. So he needs help. Luckily, one of the FrontRow founders was in town, and he proposed an interesting solution. Now, one of his students, Alice Gabrielli, logs into FrontRow Classroom, the iPad app, and resumes playing exactly where he left off last time, which is number lines standard 5. So he's just studying the subject right now, so he might guess 1 or 2 wrong. Good job, Alex. And, but eventually he'll get it wrong, and he's going to need help. So first of all, no need to despair. Let's show them the, okay. He knows exactly which of his classmates he can walk up to with his iPad and ask him for help and get some help. But let's say that's still not enough. He has the option to check out the walkthrough videos, which in 30 to 60 seconds, will show him exactly how to solve this specific kind of question, so he can proceed studying at his own pace without the help of Mr. Barnes. So he's saving him a lot of time that way. So as Alex and his classmates are practicing on the iPad app, the data is being uploaded to the cloud, to the dashboard. So Mr. Barnes has had an interesting experience with dashboards before. They've generally thrown a ton of numbers at him, just a wall of them. And he's had to stare at them for hours and try to figure out, what do I do with this? He needs quick answers, and he needs them right away. He needs them immediately, and they have to be actionable. So this is exactly what the FrontRow Classroom dashboard does for him. It tells him who is lagging behind the most last time they practiced with the app, who did best, and what are, for example, the breakdowns in the current class across the Common Core fractions, so as we can see here. So knowing the breakdown of all the groups in the class, he can now actually find out what are the specific students in these groups, so I can teach group lessons to them. And this is what the Groups tab is for. So pay attention here to the groups in red. The groups in red are groups of students who are lagging behind the most. These are the kids far behind the class, and they need instant remediation. Otherwise, the class is going to continue to be in total chaos. So now he knows what the groups are. He can do a group lesson. But there's a little problem here. I don't know if you can tell. Even if Mr. Barnes was familiar with the Common Core, which he isn't like a lot of teachers these days, he would still have to prepare 7 separate group lessons for the next day. That's a little bit of a nightmare. It would take him a day or longer to get that done. Now, that's impossible. Luckily, he doesn't have to with the classroom dashboard. All he has to do is he has to select the standard, and he's told exactly what it is. He's shown exactly what kind of questions his students will be seeing in the iPad app as they're practicing. And he's given an extensive list of resources from the web, free resources, that help him prepare the perfect group lesson for next day. These are Khan Academy, LearnZillion, etc. Now, pay attention to that knowledge ID you're seeing there. It's very similar to the Common Core ID that you might have seen before, but there's more. Actually, FrontRow broke down the Common Core standards into further levels of granularity so that Mr. Barnes can actually pinpoint a lot more accurately what his students are struggling with, and he can assist them much better. So with these tools, Mr. Barnes is able to contain the chaos in his classroom, and all of his students can proceed learning at their own pace. Now, either with the app, without his help, with the videos, with the group learning and practicing in the app, or with his very accurate help thanks to his group lessons. So we've piloted FrontRow Classroom in over 12 classrooms across the nation with over 250 students, and we've had extremely positive reviews so far. So these are 4 of the teachers that helped us build this app. They're our evangelists, and here are some of the very positive things they've had to say about us. Now, what have we learned? As we've been building this for the past 6 months, we have stuck to our motto of being on the ground with the customer, with the user, at all times, and make sure we deliver exactly what they're looking for. So for over 2 months, over 200 hours total, the founding team spent their days in the classrooms watching students and teachers use the dashboard, use the app. And at night, we would essentially iterate, add, remove, add exactly what they were asking for. And at the end of the day, we have a product that we're very proud of, and we have one committed school customer with over 200 students for our next school year. So what are we looking for? Where are we going in the future? We're looking for math teachers because we want to build a great ed tech startup, and we need their help to prepare great, fantastic content for schools. We need connections to districts and principals. We need, obviously, pilots, and we need more feedback, so that's incredibly welcome. And we're looking for mobile developers because we want to take the mobile experience, the tablet experience to the next level in K through 12, and we're looking for someone who's really excited about that great opportunity out there right now. So that's FrontRow Classroom. Thank you.
Okay.
Questions from our panelists?
Just walk through a couple of the basics. So would you expect that you would be licensing this, or talk a little bit about that part of it?
We're licensing it to schools on a per student per year basis.
For how much?
$25 per student per year. It's similar to some other pricing you might have seen. So for a campus with a lot of students, it's $7,000 is where it tops out.
And your micro standards on the Common Core, those are ones that you guys have done, because there's obviously a lot of different groups that have been trying to do that. So that
yeah,
can
so we
differ
didn't find
depending on your curriculum. Right?
We didn't find any particular set of standards that was universally accepted on, or ones that were comprehensive in a way that we found useful. So in the process of developing our adaptive algorithm, we needed to develop those, and that's how we sort of ended up with them. We worked with a few math teachers and a learning institute at Northwestern, and we came up with a pretty good breakdown of the standards and K through 5 Common Core.
And how many, you started with 4th grade, and how much math do you actually have in this system then?
So we piloted with 3rd through 5th grade students, and that's what the 12 different classrooms were. At this point, we're getting ready for the fall to launch kindergarten through 5th grade, all Common Core math.
So what sort of information do you have to show that this works? I mean, you have pilots, but what are the results?
Sure. So most of the pilots, all of them started at different times, but most of them average between 4 and 6 weeks is how long we piloted in the classrooms. And this is the time that we spent in the classroom ourselves, and this is where the iteration happened. But over those 4 to 6 weeks, we piloted one strand of the Common Core, so just fractions. And the average student improved 2/3 of a grade level in fractions over those 6 weeks.
And what's the control? I mean, I would hope that even in school they would improve anyway in fractions if they were in school for 6 weeks.
That's fair. But in general, in 6 weeks, 2/3 of a grade level is not the sort of improvement you see. But the control is we have a diagnostic at the beginning of the app. And so we're the control as well as the actual data. Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, sure, I don't want to get tied up in this, but I would expect substantial improvement in 6 weeks in a small subset of what I'm going to be covering in the year. So 2/3 of a grade in fractions specifically. Again, I'd really like to understand what the control is for a regular, yeah.
So what should they have learned, basically, anyway, without your product?
So honestly, it's hard to say. We've been doing this for 6 months, and we just did our first few pilots, so we didn't commission a large-scale study of any sort. Anecdotally, what I can offer is one of the teachers in Chicago Public Schools who worked with us, her kids took the MAP test roughly in the middle of when they were working on this, and every student scored the highest on fractions, even though that was only the unit she was using FrontRow with. So that's something I can offer anecdotally, but for a product that's 6 months old, that's in rapid iteration, that's been changing so much, it didn't really make sense to go out and commission a full-on study.
We'll look at the data in upcoming future and
Okay.
make sure to clarify that.
I mean, the point is when you get serious, that's going to be really important because there's so many things out there. They all look really cool. And having powerful data to back it up is going to be key because you don't have steampunk.
I agree completely, although I don't really like the implication we're not serious. But
No, whatever.
No, what she's saying is
more mature.
no, I'm
it's
kidding.
going to get more serious, and they're going to want to see those results.
That's
not that you're
great
not serious.
feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree
We'll
completely.
definitely follow
So
follow
the other
up.
question is, you know, schools are using Khan Academy, and it's free. So why would they want to pay $25 per student? What are you going to offer that Khan Academy is not going to be able to offer?
I think there's a few things that we tried to do better than experiences like Khan Academy or even some of the other vendors out there. Part of it is the tablet experience, and where students are actually learning as well as practicing on the tablets themselves, and that the integration of those things together. You saw some of the walkthrough videos. One of the other things we try to encourage a lot is student-to-student interaction, and some of those things aren't really present in a lot of other products. The other part that we feel pretty proud of is we feel like our dashboard is like no other in that we're really trying to target the teacher towards small group lessons. And that's something that's actually really hard to do, and that's something that we want to help teachers do as efficiently as possible.
So instead of the large large class, you want to target the small groups working on specific problems.
Exactly. So one of the big differentiators is that we want to be used in math class time, where students are either working on the iPads on their own or they're in a small group with the teacher, because that's when the real learning actually happens, when the teacher is able to help the kids who are stuck, who aren't able to move based on videos, who aren't able to move based on just games. They actually need that individual attention. And one of the big things that we learned when we were in the classrooms is there's no substitute for that. Ultimately, you need the teachers there to help the kids when they get stuck.
So actually that kind of raises a question to Esther's point, which is, do you have, and first off, you're to be complimented for the amount of time you spent in the classroom. And first off, that's really terrific. We see so many companies where they don't spend that amount of time. So kudos to you for really digging in and really investing that time, and that's great.
Thank you.
In the observations that you had, did you feel that, I mean, having fourth graders watch a Khan Academy video in some cases would be helpful. In some cases, candidly, it's kind of babysitting. And so were you really getting the achievement because you were just giving the teacher a chance to kind of work with the small groups? And how much of it was really just that teacher and a little bit of babysitting?
So we actually started with proposing the Khan Academy videos as part of the practicing and learning experience in the tablets, and that didn't work too well because nobody has the patience. We don't have the patience to sit for 5 minutes while the class is ongoing to just pay attention to the video, and that's why we decided to go around this and shorten them to very small bites that you can absorb in 30 seconds. Even that might be potentially a little bit too long, but we'll go with that for a little bit.
Initially, it was those videos and like Learn Zillion videos, those sort of videos that were our primary mechanism to learn. Didn't work at all.
Yeah.
So the reason I let the teachers go first, because I have no clue if this is applicable to the classroom, and I wanted to listen to them. I think you would get the first meeting through the first meeting with investors, but the second meeting would be about your team. And do you have the capabilities to sell this and make it scalable and bring it to the world, a global audience of teachers and make a business out of this?
That's exactly what we're trying to prove. And luckily, we had a good start in that the very first school that we piloted in, the one in Baltimore, the principal came up to us and he really wanted it. So first step is having a great product to making the sale. The second step, of course.
My softball across your plate right now was, tell me about your sales director and what experience he has, and why is your team going to be the right team to take this product into classrooms around the United States?
Fair enough. I think, so honestly, I'm the sales director and I'm the person who's responsible for that, and I've actually never sold anything before, which is why I'm doing it now.
I love honesty.
Welcome to startups.
So I'm hearing from you and from CK12 that there's a sneaky, powerful idea that both these companies have stumbled into, which is the idea of breaking learning into the very smallest component part that can be broken into. You talked about with the Khan Academy videos, wanting to get down to 30 seconds. I think as I heard you talking about that, it's exactly how people learn on the web, right? People, when you need a programming problem, you go right to Stack Overflow. You want to learn something, you go to Wikipedia. You want to learn how to do something, hopefully go to WikiHow. And those are all like 30-second to 3-minute experiences. What can you do to sort of, now that you've had that insight, and CK12 had the same insight, what do you do to kind of push the product further with that idea in mind?
So it's funny you mentioned something like Stack Overflow. We're both programmers, and we live on Stack Overflow. We wouldn't have anything without it. And it's that's where we started with the videos. So that's where we started with the 1-minute videos that we ourselves are making, and they're done exactly that way. It's, you have this problem, let us show you how to do a problem that looks exactly like it. It's not going to have the same answer, but you'll be able to replicate that process for the other part of it. And we're actually trying to do more with that, have walkthroughs where the student can learn the process and then replicate it.
Great. Awesome. Let's hear it for FrontRow. And next up is